We're at Don Odells Legends in Palmer, Massachusetts, and we have Mr. Anthony Gomes with us this afternoon. Good evening, good afternoon, Anthony.
Hey, Chris, good to see you, man.
Nice to see you again, brother.
Yes.
Everything's good?
Wonderful.
Yeah,
doing
you're
well.
excited about coming to Don Odells. You've been here before or no?
First time. First time
All
to Don's place. He's invited us many times, but we've played hard to get.
Ah.
And we wanted to wait till the perfect time.
Well, you got it now.
Yeah.
I read that you worked your whole life to make this album, and now this album is #1 on just about every single chart around the world. And how did this album come about?
A lot of hard work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And one of my favorite quotes is they asked Elton John, "Have you ever had fun making an album?" And he said, "Yes, all my bad ones." Making a record is you're trying to put your soul in this and capture. It's not documenting a live performance. An album can sound live, but it's a different thing. When you're recording, you're putting microphones inches away from a speaker or a drum, or it's a very immediate capture. So everything has to be played perfectly, and the more perfect the drums are, then everything else has to be perfect. We really wanted to capture great songs and great performances and good energy, and so it takes time. You have to write a lot of bad songs to get a good one.
Well, they're all good. I love the breadth of this album. So it's soulful, it's blues, it's rock and roll, it's happy, it's sad, it's got some very big humor in it. You really went across the whole spectrum of things on this particular album. Was that by design?
Yeah, I had a couple goals. One was to push myself as a singer and a guitar player to be more technical, because I don't consider myself a technical player. I'm a sloppy feel player. So there are a lot of great technical players out there, and I tried to learn from them and push that side of my playing. And then I tried to also be more soulful than I've ever been on a recording. And there are a couple ballads where there's some nice guitar playing. I would say some of my best recorded work and singing, and it's like training for the Olympics. I really had to push myself to do that. So that was the goal, and the goal was to make it more rock than any album I've done and more blues than any other album I've done, and try to find that landscape between B.B. King and AC/DC.
Speaking of B.B. King and Robert Johnson in this particular album, you pay homage to both of them, and B.B. King means a lot to you.
Yeah, absolutely. B.B. King means a lot to a lot of people, and that's the one. When you're a songwriter, you try to write a song that resonates with people. That's why love songs are so popular and heartbreak songs are so popular. We can all relate to it, right? We've gone through it. But as an artist, you have to write what moves you, and you hope that it moves people. Well, the loss of B.B. King, I felt that profoundly, like a lot of people in the blues world did. And I didn't really think about it when I did the song, but the exciting thing is now people are coming and talking to me about B.B. King after the show and their great moments with him. And it's keeping his spirit and legacy not only alive, but active. B.B. King will be here forever, but keeping his message of the blues and his open-mindedness alive is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, and the Robert Johnson song, "Stealing from the Devil," that's going way back, 1934, and when he really got kicking going, and Room 414 and all that fun stuff in San Antonio. But you pay homage to Robert Johnson as well.
Yeah, I can relate a lot to Robert Johnson because the music industry is so tough. I felt like I've had to sell my soul a few times.
Sure.
And I wonder who the devil is. It could be the record companies. Maybe that's metaphorically what Robert Johnson was doing, but. And I never felt like he, really deserved to go to hell, as the folklore said. He was just a guy trying to make it in the music business. It's not easy, right? Yeah. And I love the word "the devil." Like, there are certain words that, when you say them, they're just so powerful. And the devil is such, anything with the devil is, devil DJ, shopping with the devil. All of a sudden, it's like, whoa, my God, it's such a powerful word. But at the same time, I wanted to put it in a way that it wasn't a negative, like it wasn't running with the devil or, let the devil ride. Although those would be pretty good titles, and maybe I could write a song like that. But Van Halen beat me to the first one. But so I thought stealing from the devil. Okay, it's okay to steal.
Absolutely.
If you're going to steal from the devil, right? And it's okay to mention the devil if you're stealing from him because he's a bad guy, So I sort of thought that was humorous. And then, the Robert Johnson folklore, there's a lot of hours you have on the road when you're driving. And I was thinking, wow, what if, we went down to hell and rescued Robert Johnson and kicked the devil's butt, So it's very much like the devil went down to Georgia meets, some sort of blues epic thing.
Yeah, steal the devil's Cadillac.
Yeah.
And go to the pearly gates.
Yeah.
Like the song says, it's great. Well, speaking of the old legends, actually something I've never asked you before. As a writer and as a guitarist, who are your biggest influences?
As a writer, one name that doesn't get mentioned a lot is Billy Gibbons. And Billy Gibbons was a huge influence on this album. One of the many things I like about Billy is that he has a very modern guitar tone. Even back in the 70s, it was pushing the envelope. It was almost like it was a very rock tone, but he played it in a blues way.
Yes.
So, you sort of had the Eddie Van Halen heavy distorted thing, but he's playing it in a real cool way. And I love his ZZ Top lyrics because they're so avant-garde and sometimes they're just very simple, pork chop sandwich or something. But I like the way that he writes songs. So I would say that I tried to find landscape between a lot of blues and rock influences. And when the songwriting, I tried to find the landscape between Willie Dixon and Billy Gibbons. I just think that he's the master of the riffs, and something like Your Mama Wants to Do Me and Your Daddy Wants to Do Me In really strikes me as almost something a ZZ Top thing, or White Trash Princess. Whenever I thought I was pushing it a little too far, like I thought, well, is White Trash Princess, does that sound too country? Is that too much like a country rock song? And then I'd always ask, could ZZ Top do that? And oh yeah, I could see White Trash Princess on a ZZ Top album. So for me, that was my real barometer as and so a huge influence. And so I would say that was a tremendous influence. Guitar players, Don's given us 30 minutes for this interview. We could talk for 30 minutes about guitar players.
Just one guitar, Clapton or whoever.
Hendrix, Beck, Albert King. Those are the top three that I gravitate to as guitar players. But there's still B.B. King and Stevie Ray Vaughan and Ritchie Blackmore and Billy Gibbons and Carlos Santana and Otis Rush and Buddy Guy and Freddie King and Jeff Healey, Gary Moore. And then a dozen other people that I'm forgetting. Rory Gallagher. Just a bunch of great players. There seems to be no shortage of amazing, inspiring guitar players.
Yep, it's the vocals. That's where I've seen your unbelievable growth the last 4 or 5 years has been the vocals, the lyrics. They've always been good, but they're great now. This album is. There's not a bad song on the whole album. So you make this album. It's your 13th album, 12th album?
12th album.
12th album. And so everybody thinks they see you up there on stage and you're a good-looking guy and ripping the guitar and having a good time, but it's a tough life. You're on the road a lot. What makes you become a blues guitarist, a blues lyricist, and what keeps you going?
Reinventing the wheel, searching for the lost chord. If you ever find that lost chord, you're done. And I feel like I'm a much better singer and player than I was 2 years ago or 5 years ago. And I look at Jeff Beck, he's in his 70s, and he's a better guitar player than anybody watching now. Jeff Beck's a better guitar player than you are, and myself, better than, and he's in his 70s. How inspiring is that? So you can constantly push yourself. And I B.B. King, I love his early recordings, but I love the stuff he was doing when he was in his 50s, So to me, there's no shortage. If you keep yourself in good health and you're blessed or lucky enough to have good health, you can keep going and keep getting better and refine your craft.
You know, it's incredible. You just brought up Billy Gibbons before. That's exactly what he mentioned to me. He's got a new album out himself, and he really pushed himself on that. And that's what you're doing with your music now, is pushing it. You're not only going more bluesy in some of the album, but you're also going more blues rock,
Right.
More rockish as well, almost a Greta Van Fleet type of sound as well. Are you aiming for that? Is that where you're looking to go to in the future?
I wish I had that much control over my art. I wish I could say, this is the master plan,
Yeah.
and we're going to take, but it's not, you receive what is given to you. And along the way, you know, so when for instance, I'm making this album and I go, gosh, I don't feel like there's enough blues here on this album. So we cut, I went back and wrote a couple songs, The Only Woman I've Ever Loved and The Whiskey Made Me Do It.
Yeah.
And I felt like, okay, now the album was better balanced. It wasn't too much on the rock side. But the album's been out a month, but I've still been writing, and the stuff I've been writing is pretty rockish. So who knows where it's going to go. But I really like, you know, I love Zeppelin and AC/DC, and I love Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I love Otis Redding, and I think that those are my touch points too as an artist, you know, those kind of sounds and those emotions, and putting them all together.
Yeah, great answer. So you got a new guitar.
I got a new guitar.
Yeah, the Flying V.
The Flying V.
What's its name?
Mini. Its name is Mini because it's such a ferocious guitar, right?
It
The
is.
Flying V is the most ferocious guitar, and Mini is such an inappropriate name for such a
For that guitar. I mean, you're up there like Zakk Wylde some nights, just roaring with this thing.
Oh yeah, it's like calling a big guy tiny, you know. But I got it in Minneapolis, so that's where the name came from. And I jokingly say that the Flying V is my midlife crisis. You know, yeah, you know, some guys get a Corvette or something. I get a Flying V. The truth is, I never really played a Flying V for whatever reason. I liked Flying Vs. I love the guitar. I love Albert King. You know, he's in my top 3, Flying V guy. But I just grew up playing Fenders, and then, you know, I started to get an SG and a Les Paul, and I started to play those and get, you know, sort of late to the game with the Gibson thing. And a friend of mine, Stefan Jensen, who does our design and photography, said, you know, for Peace, Love, and Loud guitars, you should consider a V. This is the night before the photo shoot at 10 p.m. And so I'm like, okay. And he said, yeah, you should get a V for the photo shoot. And I said, well, why are you thinking V? I'm not against it. He said, because it reminds me of a peace sign. This is a peace sign. It's like a flying V, and then on the, you know, peace sign with the line and the two things. He goes, aesthetically, it reminds me of a peace thing. And you know, live I wear sort of all sorts of leathery stuff, or, you know, these crazy pants. But his thing was, why don't we just dress you down and you wear just a pair of blue jeans and a button-up shirt? But the guitar is the thing that's the wild thing.
The loud guitar.
The loud guitars.
Loud guitar.
You know, and I really liked that because I felt like we were straddling the line between blues and rock. And what I was wearing might be something a blues guy might wear. And then the guitar, even though some blues people do play Vs, you tend to think more of Ozzy or you know, Zakk Wylde or something. I love Zakk Wylde's playing too.
Oh, he's incredible.
I know Zak's probably watching this show and going, God, Gomes didn't mention me. Sorry, Zak. You're a wonderful, wonderful player.
Yeah. Edit this one out, but I'll be with Zak in a couple of weeks. So.
Right.
All right. So actually that brings up a question. You're playing a lot of slide guitar during your shows now. At least one song on slide guitar. I haven't seen that. Is this a new thing for you?
I'm such a lazy slide player. I love the slide. And when I approach guitar, you know, I said I'm not a technical player. Like a lot of guys probably think in technical terms, right? So when they're playing, they're going, you know, they're thinking of all those things. I'm not. I'm thinking more like a singer. I think I'm more of a singer than a guitar player. I'm thinking of but you know, playing fast is real cool too, right? And people getting, the crowd loves it. So now when I play fast, instead of going I'm going I'm just adding the couple extra notes between the main ones I would hit when I'm singing. Well, the great thing I love about slide guitar is it's the same thing. You're hitting notes, but in between it, you sort of you slide in and out of those notes, like a singer might do. But I never practiced it, but I'm really growing to love it, and I just really love the slide guitar, and I've sort of realized that when we're playing it, sometimes we do two songs in the show with slide, and we're working on Stealing from the Devil, so that'll be a third one. And people are really digging slide.
That's
like
great.
they're really liking it. And after every show, they're like, "You should be playing more slide in your show." And I'm like, "These are the only slide licks I know. I'm playing every slide lick I know. I can't do another song." No, but I think it's a pretty cool thing, and it's something that we talked about pushing yourself, and I see that as another challenge. Yeah, hey, I don't do a lot of slide guitar. Maybe I should try to do some more of that. Maybe there's something in my playing that I can discover that I haven't discovered before. I had the privilege of meeting Jeff Beck a couple years ago, and a friend of mine, Jimmy Hall, sings in the band, and he was kind enough to get me backstage, and I spoke with Jeff for a while, and it was really inspiring. And I sort of thought before that, I'm about as good as I'm going to be on the guitar. Sort of like when you look in the mirror and you're buying a shirt at the store and you're going, well, love it or hate it, it is what it is. It's not going to get much better than this. And I felt that way about my playing. But after talking with Jeff, it's sort of like he's Yoda, So it was sort of like, whoa. I realized there are not enough hours in the day to practice.
Yeah.
Like, this is so inspiring. And I started to become 15 again, and I was listening to B.B. King and Ozzy Osbourne and whatever, even if it was stuff I wasn't listening to anymore. I really connected back to that teenage kid that discovered the guitar, and I really didn't care about genre. I was listening to a lot of classical stuff too. Whatever just got me excited about the guitar, and I knew that when I was doing those things, I was doing it as a person that I consider myself a blues artist and a blues guitar player, but I still can listen to other things and take them in.
Sure.
and fuse things together. And I was really excited by it.
Yeah, that's great. So we've known each other for a while. I've been to some shows where you've had 18 people,
Right.
And I have been to shows where you've had hundreds and thousands of people. What you've done here in New England, in the New England area, is awfully impressive. Talk a little bit about that, those first shows at Chan's, and now you do 2 nights there, and then the first shows at wherever, and now you're doing 7-8 shows in the New England area. You've paid your dues.
Yeah, that's really what it is. It would be nice to have an overnight success career, but a lot of my heroes, like Albert Collins and B.B. King, slugged it out, and you built it one fan at a time.
Absolutely.
And it keeps you hungry too. If we had been very successful early on, I want to do these gigs. I may be sitting on my yacht and not want to write a song. So
Right.
this sort of creates this idea to be relevant and in the moment. And I just think that for me, if the one thing I think about is the fans and how grateful I am that they come to the shows. And as an artist, you can get very self-absorbed.
Yeah.
My career, how's my album doing? But what you really realize is it's not about you at a show. It's about them. They're coming to see you, but it's their love of your music, and it's how your music touches their lives. It's about them. And that's been very important to not only to remember, but to communicate that with the audience. Like, hey, we really do appreciate you.
Yeah.
And
you even know some of your audience's names, the people in the audience, and we had quite a
Yes.
show the other night. You knew everybody, and you really know your fans.
yeah, I think it's important. They're my boss. They pay my bills. They buy the merch. But not only that, my career's had ups and downs, and we had a real good upswing. And I'm going to say, the first half of 2000 in my career, when I was in my early 30s, late 20s, man, it was just going up. And then you have ups and downs, and it went down. And what I realized is there were a lot of people shaking my hand and were my friends on the way up, but on the way down, they weren't anywhere to be found. But there were a lot of people that were there.
Yeah.
And they were still buying the albums, and they were still, cheering, and they were still giving us hope to keep going.
Yeah.
And I realized, man, it is all about the fans. It's all about, you may be the flavor of the month, but, these people were putting gas in the tank
Sure.
and keeping us going. And now we're on an upswing again, and I look at it a lot different than the first time. I'm a lot more grateful. I'm a lot more in the moment,
Yep.
and I'm a lot more cautious as to who to let in, and nobody knows you when you're down and out, right? So,
Sure.
but when you're up and in, everybody's there,
Yeah.
So But the diehard fans, man, yeah, there's a reason I remember their names, because they come to so many shows.
Yeah, it's great. Oh, it's you just don't see that very often. It's great to be part of that audience. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
You just brought in 2 new band members.
Yes.
Sean and Jeremy. So tell me a little bit about them.
Well, man, they're great guys. First of all, they're really great human beings. And one lesson B.B. King taught me was, it's better to hire 70% of a musician who's 100% of a man than 100% of a musician that's 70% of a man. Because a 70% musician, you can grow to 100, but a 70% of a man will always be 70% of a man. So my whole career, I've always, one of the greatest compliments we've had is that everybody's really loved the guys in the band, and that's thanks to great advice to BB. Like, if you're going to have somebody, hire somebody who's really a great person. And we've had some great people in the band. Sean and Jeremy are no exception. They're just great guys. Not only that, but they really care. They do their homework, they learn the songs, they give it 100% every night. And some nights it's easier to give 100 than others,
bet.
So that's wonderful. They're both from St. Louis. Yeah, man, they're just wonderfully talented musicians, great artists, great people. And people only see what happens on the stage. That's 90 minutes a day.
Yeah.
You have to be with these guys for the other 22 and a half hours, and early on I was with some people that you'd want to leave at the gas station.
Sometimes maybe you did.
Yeah, maybe. That was unintentional. No. But yeah, and so we have a lot of laughs, and we enjoy it, and it's really a lot of fun.
What are you listening to these days?
I'm listening to a lot of new stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of people say music companies only market to people in their late teens and early 20s because that's what you listen to for the rest of your life. And I didn't want to get caught in that trap.
Yeah.
I've also later on in life discovered people that were prior to my time, like Otis Redding and Wilson Pickett, whom I love so much, But I was finding there's nobody out there that I like that's new. So I started asking some friends, and I've been listening a lot to Rival Sons, the Record Company, the Struts, Greta Van Fleet. To me, there's this whole new wave of classic rock sounding bands coming out there that are really exciting, and it's something new. I also I'm really digging. There's a lot of blues people out there I like. Danielle Nicole, a wonderful singer. Joanne Shaw Taylor, great singer, guitar player, and Joe Bonamassa's making some great music. I really like his Black Country Communion. I'm a big fan of Glenn Hughes and the whole Deep Purple thing. So there's just so many cool new things happening, and a lot of great artists in the blues world, in the blues genre. And we've done some shows with Eric Gales. He's wonderful. Walter Trout. I mean, Walter's my big brother, and he's just awesome. And to see him have the health issues that he did and bounce back, but he's better than he's ever been.
He had to relearn how to play the guitar, he told us.
God, maybe I should try doing that.
Don't get sick, though.
Yeah, no, but I feel like he's playing better than he ever has, and to have gone through that, and then to deal with those health things. So I just find that there's so many really great artists, and I'll be kicking myself because after this interview I'll be thinking of all the great people out there that I didn't mention. Love Mike Zito. Mike's a friend and a wonderful player, and Albert Castilla, great guy, great player. So there's so many people out here doing it that the average public doesn't know about, because if it was 1975, they would be on the cover of Rolling Stone.
That's right.
But now we're stuck with some other things that are mainstream.
So do you want to talk about the Blues Police in this interview? Or,
sure.
So
it's past their bedtime.
It's past that. So the Blues Police, that kind of brings it up. You see these artists these days that are so talented. Zito, you say, Walter, the rest of them, and Albert, you, and you guys have more talent in your pinky than I have in my whole body. And it's some ways as a DJ, it's very frustrating to see all this talent, and you guys are not on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine.
Right.
And it's people that are computer generated that pay $20,000 to clean up their song for every song.
Right.
And then you got the Blues Police as well, and you really are breaking through with that, with Peace, Love, and Loud Guitar. Peace, Love, and Loud Guitars. Now you're really pushing the limits of blues.
Right. I think that's my job. I think that's an artist's job, is to push the boundaries. Look, somebody who's a blues purist, if they were born 30 years prior and sent in a time machine, they would hate the very music that they champion. Every truth starts off as a heresy. Bob Dylan, Muddy Waters get booed for playing an electric guitar. The only constant is change, and things evolve. And there's only one Muddy Waters. There's only one B.B. King. And to try to sound like those guys and try to recreate a bygone sound isn't being honest to the art. And it's you're never going to be as good as BB. Do your own thing. Find what you love about BB and do your own thing. And look, I don't push the blues as any sort of disrespect to the blues or to tradition or to where it came from. I have nothing but the most profound respect for the blues and the architects of the sound. I still listen to Robert Johnson on a weekly basis. You can check my Spotify, what I'm listening to on Spotify, and it's just so profound, But Muddy Waters didn't sound like Charlie Patton. We don't sound like Muddy Waters, but it's still the blues. Muddy Waters was as different from Charlie Patton as we are from Muddy. So. Sure. The Blues Police, some people don't like change with anything. They're so resistant to change because they fear what they don't know. And they fear that it's going to, lead to something bad. And here's another thing that challenges the blues more so than any genre. The blues is considered the origins of everything. Everything starts with the blues. The blues is the roots of rock and R&B and soul and funk and whatever. So the argument is, if the blues strays too far, let's take me as an example, and becomes too rockish, then it stops being the blues and starts being what it created. It's child rock and roll. Yeah. I like to look at it this way. Blues had a baby, called it rock and roll. So there's still the same DNA, right? You still got your dad's DNA in there. Muddy Waters broke the news to the world. I look at my father. Great man. I've learned so much from this person. I wouldn't be half the person I am without him in my life, and a great human being. But along the way, I've shown my dad a thing or two. Not out of disrespect, out of my dad being a man that is open-minded and can learn new things. And, children are supposed to show their parents things. Well, I think that blues is a father to rock and roll, and the son can show the father a thing or two. We can take from rock and roll, even though the blues created it, and put it back in the blues. It doesn't stop it from being blues. And everything's more rock today. It's just, everything's faster. We got computers, things are moving. Everything is rocking and rolling more. You know, you go see a symphony and they're doing some rock stuff. Country music sounds like 80s rock, even gospel doesn't sound like gospel used to sound, but that's the stigma with the blues, and whoever the blues hired as its publicist needs to be fired, because it has the worst publicist ever. The blues is seen as like a stuffy old book that's on the top shelf that you have to ask daddy to open and read if you want to, but you never want to because it's so boring. And then your father tells you that you should open up that stuffy old book, and then gives you the big speech. You should really listen to the blues. You know why? Because rock and roll came from the blues. And then dad starts naming bands you don't even know, like the Rolling Stones, or you're not listening to that, right? So if you're a kid, what dad should say is, that book's on the top of the shelf. Don't you dare read that book. It's the devil's music. It will corrupt you. If you read that book, I'm kicking you out of the house. Yeah. The blues will have the biggest comeback ever.
I was going to say, what's the first book you're going to grab at that point?
Right.
The blues book.
Yes. So don't listen to the blues, kids.
I got one more question for you.
Okay.
Did you find the blues, or did the blues find you back in the day?
Oh man, the blues found me, and I think the blues finds any blues artist.
Happened to me.
You have to seek it out once it's found you. I look at it this way. I loved the blues before I knew I loved the blues. I was listening to Led Zeppelin and Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jeff Healey, and these were guys that were in the rock music section, whether or not they were blues or not, And I thought, okay, I got to get something that's blues. So I went to the blues section and bought a B.B. King album. And I think it's like loving apple pie, but you've never had an apple. Right? So to me, blues, I'm eating apple pie, I'm eating the dough and the crust, and I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever eaten. But I'm just eating it because there's apples in it, right? Well, the same with blues rock. I loved it because it was the blues in it. And when I put B.B. King on, I instantly understood Jimi Hendrix in a way that I had never understood. Sure. So, so I think that that's a really cool thing. And I think that, we talked about the Blues Police. I like to give them a little heck every now and then. But at the end of the day, I just want to love everybody, and I just want us to open our hearts and minds, and we can agree to disagree. They may not like what we do, and that's fine, and they may leave really ugly posts on Facebook, but that's okay too. Because
you have the #1 album in the blues market, right? So it's okay.
Well, yeah, but you know what? I think if you put love forward and you just open your minds and your hearts, not only to the blues, but into the world we live in. And, Albert Einstein said, in order to solve the problems that exist today, you need more profound thinking and a deeper understanding than the thinking that caused those problems. And the only way we're going to have more profound thinking, musically, spiritually, as a society, is if we all get together and accept each other and accept ideas and agree to disagree and discuss these things. Hey, blues purist, you hate my music and I'm mad at you for not liking us. Well, let's just put this all away. Let's just talk to me about, let's talk. Let's have a deeper understanding of things. And I think a lot of problems would go away, because I think inherently people are good. And I believe in people, and I believe in the power of love. And it's not always easy, but so I'll try to resist these blues police criticisms. Yeah, I love you, blues police. You have the right to remain silent. Okay, I get it.
I think it's a great way to end the interview. Thank you very much for your time. Congratulations on your #1 album.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Thank you.
It's your best one, I think.
Awesome.
So.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Don Odells. Back to you.
Done. You got it.
All right, brother.
Hey,
that was
thank
good.